there's another very frequently used form of equations called the slope-intercept form. An equation is in this form, slope-intercept form, if it's written in the form of y equals mx plus b. In this situation, m is the slope of the straight line and b is the y-intercept. So m is the slope, and remember that slope is the change in y divided by the change in x. The y-intercept is the value at which the line intersects with the y-axis. And the y-intercept, the points for the y-intercept, are given in the form 0b. This is best understood through an example. So let's use the equation y equals 2x plus 1 as an example. So it is in the form y equals mx plus b, and here m equals 2 and b equals 1. First, looking at what this y-intercept means. What does b equals 1 mean? It means that the line described by this equation is going to intersect with the y-axis at the point 0, 1. So x will be equal to 0 and y is equal to 1. So the y-intercept is right here at the point 0, 1. Now, if I wanted to graph this line, I have one point and I have the slope. And the slope equals the change in y, over the change in x. I could look at this as being 2 over 1. So I'm going to increase y by 2, 1, 2, and increase x by 1, which will give me the point 1, 3 as my next point. In the first example, it says a line passes through the points 6, 2 and 0, 3. Find the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Recall that y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept form. So I need to find m and I need to find b. First, looking at m, the slope, using the slope equation, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So the slope formula, and applying it here, I have two pairs of numbers, two ordered pairs. I can call them x1, y1, and x2, y2. Applying those to this equation, m equals y2, which is 3, minus y1, which is 2, divided by x2, which is 0, minus x1, which is 6. Go ahead and simplify that to find that the slope equals 1 divided by negative 6, or negative 1/6. So I have the first item that I need. I know that the slope is negative 1/6. The second item I need is the y-intercept. But what's very convenient here is that, notice this ordered pair has x equal to 0. And since the y-intercept is the point where the line described by the equation intersects with the y-axis, x would be 0 at that point. Therefore, this value is actually the y-intercept. So I know that b is actually equal to 3, and I figured out that m is equal to negative 1/6. With these two pieces of information, I can go ahead and write this equation as y equals negative 1/6 x plus 3. Next, we'll do some graphing. Graph the equation y equals negative 1/4 x plus 2. I recognize that this is in the form, slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, giving me the information that b is equal to 2, and m, the slope, is equal to negative 1/4. Since b is equal to 2, that means that this line passes through the point 0, 2. When x is equal to 0, y is equal to 2. The slope is equal to the change in y over the change in x. And if I look at this instead of negative 1/4, if I just look at it as negative 1 divided by 4, then it's easier for me to see that what I need to do is decrease y by 1 to find the next point, and then increase x by 4. So I'm going to decrease, so this is the point 0, 2 right here, and I'm going to decrease y by 1, and I'm going to increase x by 4. And that allows me to graph this line, because I now have 2 points, and the second point here is 1, 4. Example 3. A line has a slope of negative 3 and passes through negative 3, negative 7. Find its equation in slope-intercept form. So, it's telling me that the line has a slope of negative 3, and if I think about my form, slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, I know that m equals negative 3. In order to write it in slope-intercept form, though, I also need to know b. Since I have a value of x and a value of y and m, I will just have one equation with one unknown, b, and I can therefore solve for b. So y equals mx plus b. I'm going to let y equal negative 7. M is negative 3. X is negative 3. And I am solving for b. That gives me negative 7 equals negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9, plus b. To isolate b, to solve for b, I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. These 9s cancel out, which leaves negative 16 equals b. So now I know that b equals negative 16, m equals negative 3. I can write this equation as y equals, put in the negative 3 here for m, negative 3x, and then here I have negative 16 is b. Therefore, this equation in slope-intercept form is y equals negative 3x minus 16. Example 4. A line passes through the points negative 1, negative 7, and 3, negative 6. Find the equation of this line in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, once again, y equals mx plus b. And I need to find m, and I need to find b in order to write the equation describing the line that passes through these 2 points. M is the slope, which is the change in y divided by the change in x. We can use the slope formula to find this, which is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Looking at, you could use either of these pairs of numbers, calling them x1, x2, y1, y2, or you could do it the other way around as long as you're consistent. But I'm going to call this x1, x2, x1, y1, x2, y2. And I'm going to plug those in so that I get m equals y2, which is negative 6, minus y1, which is negative 7, divided by x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is negative 1. Simplifying this, m equals negative 6 plus 7, divided by 3 plus 1. Therefore, m equals 1/4. So I know that the slope of the line is m equals 1/4. Now, I need to find b. I can find b because I can use the equation y equals mx plus b. And I have an x value, I have a y value, and I have m. So I can solve for b. So I'm going to substitute these values and m equals 4 in here. So y is negative 7. That equals 1/4, which is m, times x, which is negative 1, plus b. This gives me negative 7 equals negative 1/4 plus b. To isolate b, I'm going to add 1/4 to both sides of the equation, which will give me negative 6 3/4 equals b. Now, I can finally write the equation describing this line, y equals mx plus b, in slope-intercept form. Y equals the slope, which is 1/4 mx, plus b, which is negative 6 3/4.